Live from the Super Bowl here at the Sheraton, Midtown Manhattan, Radio Row. Larry, Michael, Brian Tinsman this week at the Park, and it is our pleasure to have Redskins outside linebacker Darryl Tapp with us for this edition of the show. And, hey, this is kind of a zoo. What do you think of this this atmosphere behind us?
This atmosphere is intense. I've never really understood how intense it could be till I got here.
What are you doing here, Darryl? I mean, you doing some interviews? You making the rounds?
Yes, sir. Definitely making the rounds. My first time being here on Radio Row, so I'm just taking it all in and trying to have a good time.
All right, you are a free agent, right?
Yes, sir.
So what do you think's going to happen to Darryl Tapp? You got a new coach, but you also have your defensive coaches back. It's a very interesting situation for you. Got a lot of ability, showed what you could do last year. What do you think's going to happen?
I want to be a Redskin. I'm very happy there. Like I said, my childhood team, grew up always being a Redskins fan. I have the utmost respect for Coach Gruden. He's done so many great things in Cincinnati. Having my defensive staff back with a few twists and turns here and there, but having them pretty much intact has been a good thing. So I look forward to being back there in burgundy and gold.
I think you're an asset to the football team, no doubt about it. We'd love to have you back.
Now, you showed that old dogs can learn new tricks. Hey, absolutely. Absolutely. You're a veteran guy. You spent your entire career with one or two hands in the dirt.
Right.
And then this year you got the opportunity to play up on your back legs, you know? So what was it like making that transition this year, and at what point did you really feel comfortable?
It was an awesome transition. Had such great coaching, Coach Haslett. Coach Shanahan when he was here, he helped out a whole lot, and then learning from the veterans, London Fletcher, Ragpole, Kerrigan, the whole nine. So it was a good thing. There's only so many times that you could do the same thing and had to try to find a new motivation. This year I felt like a rookie again, having to learn a new position.
And at what point did it feel comfortable during the season?
Honestly, after that Eagles game, because that's when stuff started really happening full speed. Preseason was cool, but I was still thinking about what I was doing. Right. At that Eagles game, it was just second nature, and just continued to get better as the year progressed.
Darryl Tapp, the Hokie, is our guest for this edition of This Week at the Park. And I know you do love the Redskins, so we hope it all works out. How long have you been playing football? Because you're here at the Super Bowl. I know one day you love to play in the Super Bowl. We were talking before we went on the air. What was the biggest game you ever played? How long have you been playing football?
I started playing football my second year, actually my third year in high school. My mom would not let me play football, so I played everything else, soccer, track, basketball, the whole nine, but she did not want to see me get hurt in playing football. Finally able to play football. I played on the JV team, and then you got moved to varsity. And actually my sophomore year. Then junior year I played all varsity, but at the end of the year I had my first scholarship offer at Tech.
So what did you do to convince your mother to let you play football? There might have been some grades on the line there if you did this, that. I mean, was it just her decision one day? Did you have to work on her? How did it happen?
We had to work on them. Grades was never an issue. If I didn't get good grades, I wasn't playing anything. Right. So my parents really enforced that. But honestly, it was between my two older brothers and me just trying to continue to work on Mom to get me out to go ahead and play. I mean, I was already a bigger kid than most, so she finally broke down, and it worked out well.
Hey, it worked out pretty good, I mean, maybe you could have played pro basketball. If you didn't play pro football, what would you – did you have those type of skills in other sports?
I did, but I just realized in basketball I'm short. I'm only 6'1" 3/4". I couldn't have made it. Soccer, I got too big for the uniforms. I couldn't really do that. So football was my first love after I got to play it.
Now, Darryl, I know how important family is to you, and you mentioned playing in front of, your hometown crowd for your hometown team. What was it like to have your family to be able to be there, your extended family to be able to be there at every home game this year?
Unreal. I mean, my family I've always had somebody from my family at every game I played, at home or away, since I've been in the NFL, and since I've been in high school. Mm-hmm. But being able to play for the Redskins, like I said, we have Redskins stuff from the championship years in our house. So just being able to wear the burgundy and gold and see so much pride on my dad's face and everybody seeing me at home, it's been a great feeling and a venture I want to continue.
Now, you're also, you spent some time in Seattle.
Right.
So, but they've had a lot of turnover in recent years.
They have.
Are there any guys on that team still that you would consider friends that you were close teammates with?
There's probably 5 guys from my 4 years ago when I was last in Seattle that are still on the team, and I'm extremely happy for those guys. A little bit jealous of them, but they're doing awesome. Pete Carroll definitely has a plan. Those guys have bought in, and they're here on Super Bowl week.
Have you kept up with them this week?
I have. I've talked to them a little bit. But more than anything, just let them guys handle business, and we'll talk after the game.
Darryl, let's break it down real quick. You've got a Seattle defense that was number 1 in the league in defense. They gave up the fewest points. They gave up the fewest yards. They were number one in turnover ratio, number one in takeaways, 28 interceptions. And then you got Peyton Manning with a record-breaking offense on the other side of the field. How do you see this game unfolding?
It's going to be exciting, first and foremost. Anytime you have number one defense, number one offense going to each other, things are going to happen. Honestly, I got to go with defense. Defense always wins championships. But Peyton Manning has been unreal this year. So I'm just looking forward to a great game, but I'm going to side with my Seahawks.
All right, well, what makes their defense so good?
The coordinator, Dan Quinn. Coach Dan Quinn was my defensive line coach my last year in Seattle. He brought so many things to the table, how he was so creative, a lot like Coach Haslett, thinking outside the box, getting his guys in the best situation to be successful. And they have a slew of pass rushers. Chris Clemens, Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Bruce Irvin. It goes on and on. And on the back end, they have some of the best secondary in the league with Cam Chancellor, Virginia Tech guy.
Yeah.
You
guys never stop mentioning that. D'Angelo Hall's the same way. D'Angelo Hall does an interview as well. I really like Cam Chancellor. Well, obviously, D, you like Cam Chancellor. He went to Virginia Tech. He's a Hokie. And what is it about you guys?
Coach Beamer does a great job recruiting quality guys that can play ball. And Cam was one of those guys. So we're just very happy for him. Want to see him do the best that he can out there and then lead his team to a victory.
Daryl, appreciate you joining us for this edition of This Week at the Park. We're going to keep rolling live on the internet, but we want to thank you, and I know you got some other interviews, and really do hope you come back to the Redskins. You're a good man, and you do a lot off the field, but on the field you're a good player as well, and so you wear the burgundy and gold well.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, Daryl Tapp, Redskins outside linebacker, and he's going to exit stage left. We are done, sir. I know you're busy, but we're going to be live on the air, so you can go. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Daryl Tapp and Brian, slide over a seat, and we'll get a little tighter, me and you here. And so this week at the park here at the Super Bowl, how has your experience been here, my friend?
It's been a zoo. I mean, I've never actually had the full week up here before. I got up here Sunday afternoon, and, Tuesday, the media day. They don't undersell that. They usually have that outdoors at the stadium because it's usually either in a tropical environment or it's in a dome, so it's temperature controlled. This year they had it at the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey. So that's kind of been the story this week is, this is the New York Super Bowl. No, it's the New York, New Jersey Super Bowl.
Newark, New Jersey Super Bowl.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are two names attached to the Super Bowl. And you know what, folks? We've set up camp here in the Sheraton Radio Row, and this place is crazy. It's full of media members from all over the country, and for the next couple of days, right here on Redskins.com and on YouTube, we're going to have as many interviews over the next couple of days as we can get in a very short period of time. I know that Chris Chester is standing by a little bit later today. Dr. Tara Dahl from HDL is going to stop by. We hope to hear from Pierre Garçon as well. Bruce Allen's going to stop by on Friday. We're going to hear from Cooley. We're going to hear from Doc. And so we're really excited about being here.
Not only that, but I also spent the entire morning chasing around Alfred Morris, who did a grand tour of the city. So, we had him at the different media outlets. We had him going to visit the NBC studios. So we got lots of great content coming out of that, both social media. Make sure that you're following us along on @Redskins. Also the Redskins blog, redskins.com. We've got all this coverage.
And special thanks to HDL, the official health and wellness partner of the Washington Redskins, for supporting our venture, health and wellness. Redskins want their fans to be the healthiest in the National Football League, and this is the magazine right here. And you can see Pierre Garçon on the cover, and he looks pretty mean. Pierre Garçon's a little upset in that picture, no doubt about it, but he is such a good guy. You'll see Pierre right here a little bit later over the next 2 days. So we've not really had a chance to do our analysis on this game yet, have we?
No. This is what you want. This is the best of both conferences. It's the best offense versus the best defense, the unstoppable force versus the immovable object. And what do you think's going to happen?
Well, on Redskins Nation on Friday, I will reveal my pick at 5:30 on Comcast Sportsnet. But I will say this: I looked at the stats and I talked to Daryl Tapp. You look at these stats; these teams. It's been since 1970. In a Super Bowl to have the teams that led the league in defense and offense, second time actually since 1970, and the first time in 20 years. So this doesn't happen very often.
No.
If you had talked to us maybe the end of November, middle of November, and if you had asked me who's going to the Super Bowl, I probably would have said Denver. I might have said Seattle. Not a big fan of Seattle's swag, if you know what I mean. I might have picked San Francisco, but Seattle's a better team.
Absolutely.
So the two best teams are here, and The fact is it's outside, so the weather will play a factor.
It will play a factor, but it may not play the factor that they've been predicting. So it seems like for weeks they've been doing the extended forecast, the 30-day forecast, the 10-day forecast. And as we get closer and closer, it looks like it's probably going to be about 30 degrees at kickoff. No precipitation in sight. So this will be a pretty standard, I would think, end-of-the-season game in terms of weather. You know, it's going to be New York. Anything could happen, but they've really taken every precaution necessary, and they've lucked out to a big degree. But it looks like, you know, fans really aren't going to be that cold. There isn't going to be that polar vortex. And we'll see, but I really don't know how much, considering that, you know, Denver plays at Mile High.
Right.
Seattle plays in a deluge every single week in Seattle.
Win two, yeah.
Right. I just don't know how much of an effect that the weather is actually going to have on these two teams.
Tell you what, I'll tell you why tomorrow on Redskins Nation, but I'll tell you now, I think Denver is going to win the game. That's my prediction. You'll see why that is my opinion on tomorrow's show. What about you?
I'm actually, you know what, I called at the beginning of the playoffs, and I would have called probably at the end of November. Seattle's going to win it all. I had them beating the Patriots, but I'm going to stick with it. This is a team that, you know, you mentioned the swag. I agree with you, and I think it's unprofessional at times, but I definitely think that this is a team that plays together, and they kind of complement Pete Carroll and his attitude the right way. They really are kind of a complete unit. And they might have I think that Denver has an underrated defense, but I really think that Seattle has an underrated offense. You know, in each game that they have won in the playoffs so far, I don't think that they have yet put it together. And to me, that means that this is a team that's still on the cusp of showing all that they can do on offense. So I think if the defense plays like it has been and the offense steps it up, I think that they can stop Peyton Manning, and that is a bold prediction, I understand.
Well, you know, hey, you look at offense, you got to give it to Peyton Manning. You look at defense, you got to give it to Seattle. Intangible special teams going to make the difference. I'll break it down on Redskins Nation. And finally, once again, a reminder, over the next 2 days, right here from Radio Row, you're going to hear from us on Redskins.com as we talk to some people of interest to Redskins fans. Chris Chester's coming up next. Also, Dr. Tara Dahl and more. For Brian Tinsman, I'm Larry Michael. Thank you for watching this abbreviated version of This Week at the Park, but we'll see you right here in a few minutes.